Hey guys, Defcamp here, and welcome to DefTalk, the talk show that focuses on everything World of Warcraft, whether it's classic, retail, or the players that play it. We're going to cover it all. And today we have with us, of course, Melderon.
Hey everyone.
Hi, Melderon.
Hey.
And our special guest today, we have with us MMOGurL. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Doing
Great,
good,
wonderful.
doing good. So we're just going to jump right into it and start off with our first question, which is, when did you first start playing World of Warcraft and why?
Wow. It was back in June 2005, and I know this because I've actually looked on my subscription history. And I actually started playing because a friend of mine who had been in since the beta had been just bugging me about it nonstop because they were completely obsessed with it. And eventually I gave in.
Yeah, I wish we would have started that early,
Yes, me
but
too.
for us, it was not until like 1.8, 1.9, and speaking to people who did start in those early days, I'm so jealous. Like, I really wish we could have gotten those early experiences. And so, what was it like for you when you first started playing? What was your first character, and like, what was your experience when you first logged in?
Well, I had been playing a game previously, which a lot of people haven't even heard of. It was actually called Ragnarok Online.
Oh,
Okay.
And have you really?
Yeah,
A lot
I
of
have,
people
yeah.
are like, what's that? But it was like this little sprite-based MMO, you know?
Okay.
And people got like headgear and stuff. That was like your defining, characteristics because all the sprites looked the same,
Right.
except for their headgear. Well, anyways, and it was mostly a lot of grinding, but it was really addictive. And so that's a lot of the reason why I was hesitant to get into WoW. Initially, I probably would have jumped right in if it weren't for like coming off of that game for like 2 years,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I played a lot of that
Wow.
game.
So yeah, I've heard a little bit about Ragnarok Online. I didn't know anything about it, but would you say it gave you a head start into WoW?
A little bit. I'd say it was probably more complicated initially because you could like customize your stats and there were so many skills, but like the gameplay itself was a little bit more rudimentary. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it was kind of simplistic. Well, some of the classes were, I'd say, like wizards, you could do some crazy stuff, but most of the other classes were kind of blah. Anyways, though, my first character, I'm actually doing a video coming up called Tales from Vanilla.
Nice.
Because I was thinking and writing about a lot of this and plus we don't really know what's going on with Classic, I was thinking,
Yeah.
I don't want to just speculate about what may or may not happen because everybody's done that already and people are sick of it. So I was like, I'm just going to tell some stories about Vanilla,
I love
and
that.
so it's actually really fresh in my head because I just did a video about this earlier. But anyways, my first character ever was a druid, a night elf druid. And I thought that they could shapeshift. Sounded so freaking cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Her name was actually Doppelganger. I was like, I'm so
Oh, nice.
clever.
Yeah. It definitely tells the story of. Yeah, that's good. It's very descriptive.
Yeah.
And I got through to about level 10, and I remember it was so hard to play, man. It was just wrath, I think didn't they call it Nature's Wrath then?
I'm not really sure, but that
Yeah.
starting zone has that like bear furl bog den you go into, and it's
Oh my
so hard.
I
just
died in
did
this.
that.
My first character was
Yeah.
a Night Elf Rogue. I think I died in that cave probably like 100 times.
Banithil Hollow.
Oh,
Is that the name of it? Wow,
Oh,
nice,
my
awesome.
God.
That's really good. Yeah.
I
They have
just
it
did
hard
it
in Night
recently. I just didn't like maybe a month or two ago because I made a Night Elf Rogue and I made a Night Elf Hunter on the private servers. And so
Nice.
I just went through that hell. I died like 10 times on my Rogue.
Yeah.
10
Yeah.
Oh,
times.
God.
The second time I had a group of 3 people in there and I still managed to die once.
I was gonna
Wow.
say, because a hunter is usually harder than a rogue to get to level
You
10.
don't have the pet until level 10 back
Right,
then.
right.
Now they just give it to you.
It's rough.
So was did your druid wind up be your main, or did you actually?
No, it
Okay.
didn't. That's what I was kind of getting to was
Oh,
that it
sorry.
was very. It was not only boring, but it was kind of hard to play at first. Because literally you would just root people and then Nature's Wrath,
Yeah.
and they would always end up getting to you anyways, and they would hurt like they would just rip you to shreds, you know.
Yeah.
And I think I got to the point where I got the quest to do my bear, and then I was over in Darkshore. And I saw a warrior for the first time. And when I saw them charge, I was like, I'll be right back.
Must have charge.
must make warrior, and then I
Yeah.
went and made a night elf warrior, and that was what ended up being my main.
Okay.
Nice.
So when Classic does eventually come out in 2027, are you gonna roll a warrior again, or are you gonna try something different as your main?
You know, I'm probably going to try something different, you know, because I never did DPS. I never did heals. So, I mean, I was a tank, and being a tank was like a good role. I mean, you were needed, you were necessary, and people would just be all over you. Like the moment you logged in, like I almost think I wouldn't mind, you know, having some freedom. You know?
Yeah.
Yes, I know what you mean.
Because they're not so bad these days, you know, because they've got like LFG and stuff. But I remember even up into BC, like the moment I got on, it would be like, "Hey, you come take this dungeon for us."
My friends list was just full of tanks.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was it.
They waited for you to log on, man,
Yep.
and then they'd want to make sure that they were like first in line, you know.
Uh-huh.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
was
But be
bad.
first on the waiting list.
yeah.
And
it's
but you had, you know, my thing is healing. Like I love healing, so I would definitely, if you haven't healed, I would give it a shot. I would definitely give it a
Well,
shot.
and I had a lot of good friends that were healers. Like I was always like, that looks really cool. I'm really interested in that, you know. And I used to love, like I don't know if I could level a paladin. I know you really like paladins, and I think paladins are great, but like I have trouble with the skills. Like I need more to do. You know what I mean?
Okay, so
If you
mean,
ever-
like the
if
level.
so
you
you
ever
like
hear
more
me-
than white hitting then?
Oh, okay.
And I know
Enhanced
there's
shaman.
more to it. No, I know
Yeah.
there's more to it.
Yeah.
I totally know there's more to it. But it's like, and I remember I was listening to you once, I don't remember where it was, but you were talking about how having to know exactly what to hit when you don't have a lot to hit is actually a skill in itself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can appreciate that, but it's just not for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand that. And you know, I will admit that ret paladins are a little bit on the don't tell Espen I said this, but a little bit on the boring side.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my thing is, I like holy paladins to me are amazing. You know, I love
Well,
holy
yeah.
paladins.
Well,
and-
one of the things that I was going to get into about Pallies that I thought they were so cool is like, I mean, they had things like concentration aura. I mean, that was awesome. You
the
know, like,
blessings.
yeah. And I mean, there was so much there. Even like the fire resistance auras that we
Yep.
had like an MC, you know?
It's huge. That is
Absolutely.
huge right there.
Yeah. Paladins are
Yeah.
definitely important in raids. Unbelievably important. I'll never deny that. I'll never deny that.
I think the only thing that would hold me back from actually making a healer is just that, you know, with respecs being more expensive. Now, granted, we don't know if they're going to keep that. They might change
Right.
that, which would make things easier.
Mhm.
But I don't know how I'm supposed to even get anything done if I don't have a DPS spec, you know, because I actually did level a priest back in vanilla up to about 45, I want to say.
Mhm.
And I leveled Shadow, but
Right.
it was difficult.
Yeah, it is.
It wasn't easy.
No.
And so I can't even imagine doing that as a healer, like in a healer
Yeah.
spec, you know?
And I think that's a little bit where the sense of community comes a little bit more there too, because a lot of healers that I know of, I mean, there are some things you can like farm and stuff as a healer, but a lot of the times, you know, people will group up to farm and help each other out.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that's one of the awesome parts about vanilla. Like I know in private servers, the respec cap cost, I think is like, 25 gold? It's lower than it was in actual.
Because it was 50,
Yeah.
wasn't
It's
it?
50.
Yeah, I think it was 50.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that really adds up over time. You know, if you're going from say resto to feral, you know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
Over and over
Oh,
again.
believe me.
Yeah. Really adds up. So, you know, but
It was like you picked your spec and you just stayed there.
Yep.
Or
Stuck
else
with
you
it.
were
Stuck
broke.
with it.
yeah. But then
You
like that's a lot of the thing with the changes come in, like, well, then you can look, okay, see, maybe we can group up and farm this way. So, you know, it's interesting. I like to think about you know, what were the implications of like little changes like that be, but it's definitely something that, you know, I think Blizzard is going to have to make a choice whether they do it or not.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So going back to your original, your first experiences. So you picked Night Elf, obviously Alliance. Are you a for the Alliance person or Night Elf favorite, or what are your favorite race and faction combination?
Well, do you guys remember that old video that someone made? Man, I used to love the old Machinima and all the videos
yeah,
that they
we love
made
it,
for
yeah.
WoW. Do you remember the one that I'm a switcher? He was like a paladin who switched over to a
Yep,
shaman.
I remember-
and I kept
I remember.
That's basically me.
Thank
Nice.
you. Okay,
Nice.
and that's okay because
Yeah.
that's how
Yeah.
I'm feeling more and more often now.
Because I love like I've actually played Horde this entire past expansion in Legion, which is something I don't know if I've ever done.
Right.
So if you asked me now, I probably lean more towards Horde. But in not in classic, in vanilla, I was Alliance first, because none of the races really appealed to me.
Okay.
You know, like
Yeah.
initially I was like, orcs don't really look that great, and
Right.
trolls don't really look that great.
Big green gorillas and big and lanky
Yeah.
trolls. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my first character was actually an undead because I was like, well, they look pretty cool.
I love undead.
Yeah, me too. It was my first character as well. Yeah.
I made a rogue, and I think she was called like Bad Touch or something.
Nice. Bad touch.
Oh.
It was right around the time, or sometime after, maybe, I guess. I don't know. I'm trying to think now. No, I guess that came out a while before that Bloodhound Gang song.
Oh yeah. Yep. I think
Oh
it
my
probably
God,
was.
yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Wait,
So
it's cool because
yeah.
like in Melderon's is getting a little bit more harder to pick. Like I've always been for the Horde, but kind of because my first character was Alliance.
Yeah.
And now when I play vanilla, like I like to play Alliance, and I love
exactly.
Yeah.
Paladin.
Exactly.
I love
It's
Paladins.
hard for me because, like, you know, I'd say at a time I felt one way or the other, but it keeps changing because they just keep changing everything in the world.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, like I'd say at the beginning of Legion, I thought Horde was so awesome. I was like I remember the story came in and there was that whole bit where, you know, Vol'jin died and like it was so crazy. I was like, this is awesome. You know, like by the end of that, I like my adrenaline was going and I'm like, you know, this is epic.
For
and
the Horde.
Now it's like, you know, like not even that far in, I was like, you know, Sylvanas, you're making some questionable decisions here. You know, I don't know how I feel about this. Like,
Absolutely.
you know, even that whole part in, I don't know how much, do you guys even play retail at all anymore? I know you
played
quit.
retail, like I played it really hardcore for a long time, so
Yeah.
I'm pretty up with everything. Yeah.
Have you played Legion, like even just basic leveling?
Oh yeah, I was mythic rating in Legion and everything.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you know, then like even when you're leveling in Stormheim and she's like freaking sitting there trying to capture a freaking god
to
res her people.
Valkyr thing.
The
Yeah.
Valkyr, yeah. I couldn't remember her freaking name. I was gonna try and go for it.
Yeah, neither can
I know I took one of my unborn Valkyrs and named him after her, but I can't remember it.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like I don't know if I like that. Like Vol'jin, you know, like he was a bro. You could totally get behind him. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And same thing with Thrall. Like I know a lot of people don't like Thrall because of the whole Green Jesus thing and how he like turned into a total hippie. And I agree. I didn't like that he changed so much, you know. But still, I liked him back when he was, you know,
when he had faults
in charge.
and he had and he wasn't perfect. I think that's when he became
boring.
More
human. You know?
Yeah, in a way, but the character became more boring as well. He has no faults anymore, and he has no like challenges. It's just all like he's literally Jesus, basically. So it's like,
You know who I could get behind? I could get behind Lorthramar.
Oh, the
blood elf dude,
guy,
I could get behind Sourfang, and if all this new stuff was.
Yeah, I could get behind him too. I mean, it's like I guess you just want to look for someone who's like solid. You know what I mean? Who you know, for the Horde, you just think you want someone strong and fair.
Right.
I mean, at least that's what I think, you know, and we went through freaking
honorable.
Yes, thank you. Yes. I mean, perfect. You know, we went through freaking what's his face during MOP, and he was just a nightmare, you know. And then, like, you go through that crap at the end with Siege where you don't even get to kill him. The freaking pandas come in and they're like, we get to kill him.
Yeah,
like, come on.
And then he escapes. Like,
and then he escapes with this crazy backwards story with the Bronze Dragonflight, which you only even knew about if you did the legendary quest line. Right. Everybody else, though, is like, what happened?
What? Yeah.
So you bring up a very interesting point. Do you prefer the more classic lore over the newer lore?
I'd say, I mean, it made more sense back then, you know? I mean, I wasn't like a real lore junkie back then. Like, I mean, I would just play the game and like I would read the books and stuff that they would give you, you know, like the things they throw in your inventory.
Right.
And like, you know, if I didn't like it, I'd kind of skip by it. Like, it's kind of boring. But if like there was like one part I remember that was really interesting, like in Ashenvale, I actually just came across it again recently. Do you remember like I think it was when you were doing that Murloc quest and you get that Tyrannus's journal? And like, I was reading it, and I'm like, it talks all about how this guy, this human mage or whatever, or a warlock maybe he was, but he came in and he basically was trying to like use the Furbolg to do his evil bidding, and he came in and did a bunch of stuff, and I was like, that's so cool, because it like talks about why all the Furbolgs are messed up in the area.
Right.
And it
really
also
cool.
talks about this one Furbolg that he thinks if you could look like a Furbolg, you could reason with. And you can actually, like, if you get the rod, the Dartal's rod, if you follow that whole quest line and you put it together, you can turn into a Furbolg and go talk to this Furbolg.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that quest. Okay. I've never done it, but I know the quest because of the item that makes you turn into a Furbolg.
Yeah, I mean, and the whole thing is just, like, pretty cool. Like, and so things like that I like.
I love stuff like that.
There was a lot of stuff I didn't really know that much about, because I didn't really play Warcraft, any of the earlier Warcraft
RTSs,
games.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I actually went back retroactively, and I played a good chunk of Warcraft 3, but I didn't finish it.
It's a great game.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I at least knew about like Arthas and all of that when that got started, because I got that campaign finished. But
Yeah, which
and
is
I know
great
a little
one.
about
Yeah.
Thrall too. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's like, I know that there were certain things that I thought were really cool. Like, I was really, really intrigued by the whole Draenor storyline. Like, I remember going down to the Blasted Lands
That's my
and finding
favorite.
that dark portal.
Yep.
And
Oh,
I
yeah.
actually, you remember how there used to be all the Fell dudes in front of it? They were all
The
like
Fell
level
guards.
Yep.
58, 60
Yeah.
elites, and I remember being like, I need to get to that portal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
And
yes.
so I actually made several runs to get to it. And I'll never forget, I finally got to it, and I just went right through it to the other side. And I'm like,
You're like, oh, it doesn't do anything.
what the hell?
At least
I
you made it,
remember-
though. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when BC finally came around, though. I was like, I finally get to go through
Yeah,
it.
I can go through it now.
God,
Yeah.
it was such an epic. But back into the, I want to say real quick, back to the we were talking about with Garrosh and all. Like, I do not want to see Sylvanas go down the same path as Garrosh.
I know,
No.
I know.
They already did that once before.
No, plus, she's been around since the beginning. They can't do that to her.
Exactly. You know.
Well, and Garrosh too. Like, I mean, I don't know a whole ton of his backstory. Like, I'm not crazy into it, like, people that buy the books and all of that. But I from what I remember from just playing the game, like, I remember being up at like the Argent tournament. And do you remember, like, in Wrath?
Oh, yeah.
And do you remember when like Thrall was walking Garrosh around, and it was like he was teaching him, So it
he
felt
actually
more
was.
like, it felt more like,
Yeah, Garrosh is Grom Hellscream's son, and basically Garrosh was left on Draenor. He had the red pox, which was like a measles that the orcs got that actually was deadly, and he was left in Garadar. If you remember in Nigran as Horde, when you quest in Nigran, that's that Horde base Garadar. Those are like the orcs they left
the
there.
untainted ones, the ones that didn't drink the blood.
Correct, and a lot of them had the red pox, and he was from there. So that's where. Anyway, yeah.
Well, but it's like he seemed like, he could have gone one way or the other. Like with Thrall's, tutelage, whatever you want to say, mentoring,
Definitely.
that he could have been a good leader, and instead, he just ends up being awful,
So bad.
I agree.
So bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are people that hashtag Grom did not or Garrosh did nothing wrong, right? So there's that group. But I personally, I think there's a lot of things he did wrong. He tortured people. But
Yeah, I mean the bombing of Theramore.
that was bad. But war is war, man. But torturing to me is that's the part that goes above.
Yeah.
But whatever.
But see, like the thing about Sylvanas, she's always been about survival, and it's kind of been a little bit, and like But she's like the way they're kind of making her now, like she's turning into like Lich King like point two. Where she's just like raising people from the dead, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There was a whole scene back in, I think it was in WoD, where Garrosh was like, "Oh, you see, you're no different from the Lich King now," and all that.
I still can't even believe that she's gonna frickin' burn Teldrassil. I mean, what the hell?
We don't know if that's what's. I mean,
well, I tell you what, I saw a frickin' picture. It was a spoiler picture someone put up on Reddit, and I mean, in Teldrassil, and that whole Night Elf starting area is like my baby. So it's like it feels like they're killing a part of me in that area.
How you feel from the other side with Undercity. Yep.
Yes, no, I know, because I was I told you I liked Undead, so like if I had to pick a side on Horde, that would be it,
Right.
So they're like hitting me in two spots, but I guess for me, since Teldrassil was literally the first place I ever walked in to the game. It's like just a little bit more special, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't even understand the need to just like destroy things. It's
I
like,
know.
I know you're looking for like that shock factor, but like, you know, this isn't reality TV, you know? We
Correct.
don't need this,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah, I
But that's
agree.
all the more reason why that classic is going to be here. And we
Yeah.
can go back.
Yeah.
To that and,
Yeah.
and we can go like so. We were talking about like moments in WoW. So what was? Well, actually, what's your favorite thing to do in WoW?
Retail or classic, I guess.
Retail, classic, all of it.
Well, I don't do it so much anymore, although I do still have like a couple friends I talk to now and then. But back in the day, I was a chatterbox. I was that person who would be talking on Vent or whatever we used at the time, and just running around in circles talking to people or whispering people or whatever. Like, I used to talk to people a lot. I mean, I like to PvP by a certain point too.
Okay.
But I don't think that was until a little bit later, like BC, when I really started doing like more serious battlegrounds.
Yeah, same with me.
Because when you're on a warrior tank, it's not fun to do battlegrounds. Let's just face it.
I mean,
You go
Flag
in.
carrier, yeah.
flag
you
carrier, but
go
druids
in-
do it better,
Yeah.
so it's like...
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you would go in and just get ripped up by ranged, and you couldn't
Oh,
really
yeah.
do anything because if you
Yeah.
charged in, then all the melee would get you, and
Yeah.
if you just stood there, like, you could maybe get off a good spell reflect. I mean, but that's it. Now warriors are a lot better.
Yes,
They have
are.
a bigger bag of tricks, but back then, tanks were just not good.
You know what's funny too is like when you go into a BG, of course you're supposed to target the healers, right? But when for some reason when I saw a tank, everyone went on the tank.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
yeah.
yes.
And it's like, why? Why are you guys going on?
I would be
the one with the most
yeah.
health.
Yeah.
Go on the healers.
I
Yeah.
would be sitting there swearing my head off, like, God damn it! You know,
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
leave me alone. Can I just do
Yeah.
anything?
It's like, let's go after the guy let's go after the person who has the most health, the most mitigation. Let's just go after that guy with a
Everyone
shield.
wants to kill the
yeah, yeah.
Do I see a shield?
Yeah, let's attack
Like
that
kill
person.
the raid boss. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. That's funny.
It was
So how
so.
about
I just had so many like I have really good memories from doing battle rounds, but none of them are on my tank. None of them.
Right, right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So would that be? Would you consider that your funniest moment as well, or were there other moments that take the
no,
cake for
no.
that? Okay.
There are so many better ones for funniest moments. Like, I'd say most of the best times I had were in MC. MC
Nice.
was like the first raid I ever did, and I remember going in there, and it's funny because like today, you know, like if you're out of the loop with the game and you come back and you go into a raid and you've never done it, like at least for me, I'm always really nervous. Like I'm like, oh god, everybody knows what they're doing, and I'm the only one who hasn't done this, and I'm gonna screw up, you know.
Yeah.
And back then, though, it was just like you wanted to get in there so bad, and you didn't care how you got in there.
Right.
You were like, I
Yeah.
don't care if I'm awful, I'm here. Like, I'm in MC, you know?
Exactly.
And, you know, you just like this little kid at a candy shop looking around and wonder at like all of the hugely higher than you level mobs walking
Mhm.
around and
Those big magma dudes and all that stuff.
oh yeah, the
Magmadar.
core hounds,
Yep.
Yep.
the elementals and all of that. But we, you know, after a while, you know, you spend like, I don't remember how many days a week we raided. It was probably like 2 or 3. I know we would be in there for hours though.
Oh yeah.
And back then I was like super young and I had no life, so it didn't really matter. But
Mhm.
you know, it would pretty much as soon as I got home from work, it was like, all right, I'm in here for the rest of the night.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
But,
No, we know
Human
exactly what you're
trash,
talking
yeah.
about.
And then when
But-
a wipe happened, oh my god, it
Yeah.
felt like an hour before the whole group got back.
oh
on
my god,
track.
yeah, because
Yeah.
people would like actually talk about things back then.
Yep.
And like
Yep.
sometimes it was good. Like it was good to talk about what you should do differently. Like, and I always try to get people to talk about that now. And so many
Right.
people are so freaking impatient that they'll just run right back in.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
like, okay, so let's just keep, you know, smashing our heads against the wall and hope we
Yep.
get lucky one of these times.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
But like back then, people would talk about it, and like I said, there were good points to it. Maybe they could have talked a little less, like because you would just be sitting there, like, okay, well, I'm going to talk to people while I wait, and I'm not listening to what they're even talking about.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Oh yeah, I'm guilty of that.
But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
we.
absolutely.
Well, I knew what I was doing, so it was
Right.
usually somebody else that was messed up.
Oh yeah, I
because-
always knew what I was
yeah.
doing too. Every time.
Yeah.
Matt likes
But,
to blame it on other people, especially the tanks.
Well, especially the tank. Yeah. It's always the tank's fault, never the healer's fault.
That's right.
But I know we had we had this one guy who would raid with us, and he had one of those Mr. Wiggles pets, which back then I think was pretty rare because
Yeah, it was.
Wasn't it through the Children's Day thing? Maybe.
I think that's
Wasn't
that
that
the first-
Kel'Thuzad's cat or something? Or am I thinking of the wrong person?
No, yeah, it's a different one.
Yeah,
It's a
if
pig.
Oh, never mind.
It's a pig, and
Never mind.
it was called Mr. Wiggles. And so every time we frickin' wiped or anybody did something stupid, this guy would blame it on Mr. Wiggles.
Nice.
And like I remember that just became. I mean, it sounds so stupid now that I'm saying it, but everybody used to be like, "Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Mr. Wiggles."
I mean, yeah, I think that's par for the course for funny moments. I think because it's like,
yeah.
it breaks the monotony and it makes it funny and stuff like that, and it's in-game relevance. So that's a
Yeah.
good point of
Right.
it too.
We had do you remember those rock elementals? They were literally there. They were the big huge ones, like as soon as you came in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And and remember you had to like group up or else they would charge and
They would-
hunt
yeah.
people.
Yep.
Well, I remember we had this raid leader and he always used to say huddle, like huddle, get together, because there would always be people that forgot and were just kind of standing out there,
Yeah.
Right.
And I remember one time he said poodle by accident.
Oh, instead of
He said poodle, and like from that we were like poodle. What
what does that mean?
From
Yeah, exactly.
From that point on, every time we were on those mobs, somebody would crack, "Oh, poodle up on the mob,"
Yeah,
and he
so
would just be like,
Yeah.
eye roll.
yeah.
Oh my god.
As a raid leader, I can tell they used to make fun of me for stuff all the time.
Yeah,
so it's
we
like,
did.
yeah, and
I miss that so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but so like unfortunately, Matt and I didn't get to the Defcamp, but I didn't get to do MC.
Oh,
Until-
I pugged it. I did pug it.
Oh, you
I
did?
pug it. Yeah.
Oh, see, I did it. The only time I
got
got to do it, I tanked it during the anniversary when it was like, almost irrelevant. So if you
during like
Yeah.
WAD?
during WAD, yeah,
They
that's
did
the only
that
time I've
Corhab
ever done it.
route?
Yeah. So, but
Yeah, you didn't really start raiding until like BC.
BC,
right?
I pugged raid, and then Wrath, I finally started actually.
'Cause I
raiding.
was in a guild in BC raiding, and I was raiding pretty seriously. But
Okay.
I mean, I know you were like at school at the time, and you didn't really take raiding seriously until
Wrath.
later,
Yeah.
until Wrath, right?
hmm
But for me, like
So
I miss.
raid, pugging a raid. Ooh.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, pugging. Yeah, but like, I feel like with my experience raiding later on, like, I did get serious in raiding in BC, but I felt like it's different now. I feel like maybe it was just the guild I was in, but everything was a lot more serious, and I didn't have as much fun in the guild that I did recently, especially in. I love my guildies; they're great guys, but it was different. The feel, everything was different. I don't know if it was like the mechanics or what, but everything was a lot more serious. With the new
Things
stuff.
changed a lot with BC. I mean, you could get me going on that alone. One of the things I always talk with people, I have a lot of people I talk to that have been around like since the beginning, and
Right.
we'll get into the conversations about. So, what do you think? Killed WoW, if you will. You know what I mean, or killed it for you, let's say.
Right.
One of the things I always hear, and I will totally agree with, is that the raid sizes really screwed a lot of things up.
Yeah.
Like, because it wouldn't have been so bad if they made just 25 mans, even though 25 man is a weird size, but they made 25 mans and 10 mans.
Yeah.
And I remember I was in the same guild that I had raided with during Vanilla when BC started. And I remember exactly what happened. And this happened everywhere. They had the A group. Do you guys remember that? They would take their best people,
Oh, yes.
send them in, and it would be the A group.
Right.
And then they'd have the B group,
B
and B
group,
group
yeah.
would kind of get stuff done.
Yep.
And then they'd have the third group that nobody gave a shit about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was
I know
also
that.
the group that got totally screwed when it came to doing 25 mans.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? There would always be like that 5 people that would just be benched,
Yep.
Right.
And a lot of the times it would be even more than that. And like eventually it tore the guild up.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like half of it split and formed another guild,
A
and
lot
then
of
we
guilds. Yeah.
we ran into the same problem again because they were being preferential even in their 10 man, their only 10 man, to take the geared tanks, and I wasn't geared yet.
Right.
Right.
And because nobody had bothered taking me, like they just didn't care about including people as much.
Yep.
And I'd be asking, I'm like, when are we gonna go?
That's a
When
really
are we
good
gonna
point.
do Kara?
Because you can't really be selective with 40 people, right? You need to take
Yeah.
everybody.
You always just have
Exactly.
bodies. Like, and
Yeah,
that's how
yeah.
and that's what I argued today. You know, you always had the people who got in there, and that's how a lot of new players got geared, while just being that warm body to fill a spot.
Yep.
You know, and like when we talk about vanilla, a lot of people are like, well, no, nowadays when classic comes out, everyone's going to be, you know, picking the top, the best of the best. I'm like,
no, they're
when
not.
it comes to 40 people, dude, you might
It's
have,
hard to get 40
it
people
is.
in one
It is,
place
yeah.
at the same time.
and you might have 20 that are like geared, that are doing great and everything like that, and like the other 20 maybe you'll have 10 that are like, you know, okay, they got pre-raid bis, they got, you know, this and that, and the rest of them are just warm bodies. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's you know, that's what it is, getting 40 people, but that also gave the new people, the people who just hit 60 or whatever, chance to get gear. And
Yeah.
I think, you know, and you know, it was hard, I think, when guilds had to change to that 40 to 25, is you got to, okay, well, we have, you know, a lot of guilds have, you know, they're a couple floaters, but for the most part, at least over 35, like people that, okay, like we're going to raid. And then you have to worry about, okay, well, we have these people, so we can't just screw half them. We got to get another raid group, have to get more people, and that's more that the guild leader has to do. That's more that people have to do. And then it just came to the point where everyone's like, well, we're just going to focus on one raid group, and the rest of you guys are pretty much screwed. Like, you know, and that's pretty much
because I remember I ultimately got so sick of it, like, because I literally watched, you know, my vanilla guild splinter again, and then a group of us ended up making our own guild, and then we had so much trouble just getting people to show up. And I remember, like, in my spare time when I was not doing anything, you know, I was leveling a blood elf, and I started playing that, and I remember I was already ready to go on Alliance, you know, like I was like, I'm here, I'm ready to start whenever you need me, just let me know. And so I went over, and I remember I leveled up, and for whatever reason, on that server I was on at the time, on Horde at least, they were like really like serious, you know, so it was hard to even get into a guild. And so I started looking around, because I was like, I really like this character, I want to raid with it. And I looked on the forums, and I ended up finding a guild that sounded pretty decent. Like, I talked with them on Vent and stuff before I transferred over, and I went over there, and I raided pretty much almost all of BC. I mean, I took some breaks here and there because, you know, sometimes you get burnout, but
absolutely.
But you know, I would always come back, and like we were all really good friends, and there were always like the people, and I will say there was a little bit of nepotism, you know, because there were always the people that you knew were good, or that were friends with somebody that would always get to go. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, they were the people you invited first, and, you know, it would always be the tanks, the healers, and then from that point it was nepotism.
And the highest DPS. Yep.
Yes, and I remember one of the things that I had to deal with all the time was the turnover rate, because people would get so pissed because they'd get benched. And there were a lot of times where, like, you'd have to take in classes you didn't need, like DPS classes, to get a healer. You know what I mean? And like, you needed the healer, but you didn't need anything else. But then the people that were there that are now being benched for these new people are getting pissed. And they like, I mean, and that was just like, so for me, like, when I look back about a lot of the problems with all of that, like, the big thing that changed was just the raid sizes, you know?
Because I thought the raids were great. I loved, like, oh my God, like, it was challenging. But like, and I healed in BC, and that was my first time when I made my holy priest, and I loved it. Like, I raided
as a warlock. I rated as a warlock.
So, well, you did a lot of DPS.
There were a lot of things you got to banish too. I remember, especially in the eye.
Yeah. Oh my God, it was so much fun. Like, I thought, even though like the raid size, it did definitely bring a lot of problems, but I think raiding was itself
the raid quality went up in BC.
Yeah, and also like the players, like the amount of abilities that each player had and what they brought to the table. You know, shamans now had a bloodlust, and you know, and it was like, it was just, I think it was perfect with the mix of, you know, the characters' abilities and things like that, and the mechanics. And you know, I remember like the eye pre-nerf. Oh my God, it was ridiculous. It was hard. Like, well, you know, Kalthos, it was like crazy. Yeah. But then, you know, like doing Black Temple,
I never got to do Black Temple. It's one of the things I wish I could have done. But like, I remember right around when we were doing the I just got so burnt out. Like I just didn't want to do it anymore.
That was a rough progression.
Yes, well, because I remember doing SSC, and SSC was pretty. Everything before that was easy, you know. But I remember doing SSC, and like there were some really awesome fights in there. Like I remember getting to tank Leotheris was really fun, and you'd have to take like the way we did it at least. I don't know if this is how everybody did it, but we had to like give everybody, all the warlocks had to have a soul stone ready to go, and they would like start off soul stoning me, and then I'd die, and then I'd come back from the soul stone, and then the next lock would have to soul stone me, and then I'd die. You know.
Wow.
But like it was crazy, but it was so fun, and I remember like, you know, the whole process of that fight felt a lot like how it felt coming up with strategies in vanilla, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'll definitely agree. I think the raids were great. I mean, I really liked them. I would just complain about the size. Like I feel like they should have done an even number one way or the other. I mean, like at the 10s, you know, like maybe even if they did 20 or 30 or, you know, just kept it at 40, you know? Yeah.
That's really interesting. I never, you know. And
that's a good point that we never really touched.
Though, like I knew, you know, obviously if you experience that, you know, you see the issues with guilds and everything like that. But like looking back on it now and seeing that issue, because, you know, it went from, of course, it went 40 man, 25 man, but then like a lot of the times with my guild, I really didn't see too much of that myself because I was into a new guild when I went into BC, and it was pretty much a fresh guild that had just started. And,
so everybody was at the same point, basically. Right. Yeah.
And, you know, I was a healer, too, so I was always there. I didn't have the issue of, you know, like being benched or anything like that. We had some really good healers, and it was – but, like, I definitely saw – I remember a lot of times, like, seeing a lot of guilds that I saw from vanilla no longer there in BC. A lot of guilds died. And
or they splintered,
Or they splintered, right. And, you know, it's really interesting hearing someone who went through that, you know, because it's like,
that's a good point.
It definitely happened. It really definitely did happen.
Yeah. So if we could switch gears for a second. So we're talking about these things and the natural evolution and progression of Warcraft, right? So, and the change that happened. So for someone like you, and I'm assuming you play on both, I think you play both retail and private servers now. So what's keeping you in retail and what's keeping you in private servers? So what are the two things that are keeping you in both of those situations?
Well, the private server is pretty easy because it's not only about getting to experience it, you know, the way it was when it made so much more sense, but it's also about trying to figure out what I want to play for Classic. You know what I mean? Because I know how much work it is, and I don't want to frickin' sit there and get off to a bad start and then be behind everybody because I picked a class that I thought I remembered better than it actually was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there were so many classes I played that I didn't play that high because you forget, like I've been playing recently. I just started a shaman on Horde. I made a troll shaman and I just got to level 12 today. And I swear, like I have died so freaking much. And like, I thought I was actually doing pretty well, but then anytime you run into a mob that like has two, like if it's like a hunter and it has a pet, or if it's a lock and it has an imp, you just get wrecked. It's like, I can't do anything, you know, like.
You're like, oh crap! I gotta switch target to Earthshock. That before they, yeah.
And then there's totem quests. Oh my god!
Oh my god! I just did the fire one. Yeah, it was like, go here now.
Just
go
wait until level 20. Wait until you're for your water totem quest.
Right. Well, I did do because my first Horde was a Tauren shaman. So I did have a shaman that was like, I think I got her to like 50. I got her really close, but it was just like. I remember I had a good guild at the time too. Like they were really nice and helpful, and they would always like talk with me and do things with me. And they were like, "Come on, hurry up!" You know, and I'm like, It's so hard leveling because it was so slow.
Yeah, shamans aren't the fastest either. Definitely not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and they're so strange, like because they go through all these different phases. Like where like right now, it almost feels like the most damage I can do is almost being like a dot class, you know, because you have dots from Lightning Shield, and then you have dots from Flame Shock, and if you use Flame Tongue, you have a dot from that technically, and if you use the Searing Totem, that's kind of like a dot
as well. Yep.
Yeah, you know, and so you're just kind of sitting there like, I'm not really doing anything, but all this other stuff is.
Yeah, you're just kind of like white hitting, and then all this stuff's happening around you, and you're like, okay. That's basically leveling as a shaman. White hitting, and then things are just happening. I remember
the first time I ever saw a shaman, I was up in Stone Talon, up by that Night Elf place in the north.
Oh, that horribly placed,
Yes.
alliance base they have
The
in
one
Stone
where
Talon.
they've got the moon well up there and
Yeah.
everything, and you
Yeah.
got to go all the way up there. And so I was up there, like, turning in a quest to get the fight path and whatnot. And I came down and I saw, like, this wolf, and I'm like, the heck is that wolf? And I was like, why does it have like a player name? I thought it was like an NPC or something. I was such a noob.
Oh, it was a shaman in Ghost Wolf form. Yeah.
Well, no. So he comes over,
Yeah.
and I was standing on a stump for some reason. I don't know why. The things I used to do in vanilla, like I used to dance all the time.
So do I.
But it would be like, here's a stump. I will jump on it and dance.
Yeah.
Whatever. And so this freaking he comes over and he's sitting there and he's all like looking at me like, oh, thanks for the show. And then he's like, he freaking dances with me, and I'm like, oh my god, the wolf can dance.
Yeah. He does like the whole like
so
doggy
funny.
dances.
Yes, where they would like jump from side to side.
Yeah.
It was so awesome. And I was like, I need to make a shaman. Once I found out what it was, because I was asking a friend, like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. That's really cool.
But
So it's the
retail though.
Yeah.
I'm not really playing retail right now. My sub is active because I use it sometimes for making videos, but I'm so bored with it right now. I rated up until they released Taurus. I've been into Taurus. I had such bad luck with legendaries. Such bad luck. I was a boomy, and if you know the boomy dilemma.
Yes.
If you don't have the perfect legendaries and the perfect even trinkets, like you suck. You suck.
I hate that.
And I was like, I played this character, I literally just played this character. And then I took a break at one point and I came back and I'm like, I'm going to keep grinding and eventually I'll get it. Like, I think by the time I said, fuck it, I had finally gotten the bracers. Sorry,
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah.
You can bleep it. But, but I finally got the Onus Intuition. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm finally going to do decent DPS. And I was like, I'm not even doing much better now.
Yeah.
I'm like, this sucks. Like, I want it to be about skill and knowing what to do, or, being really used to the character. I shouldn't even say skill, because there's not a lot of skill anymore. It doesn't feel like it. But you know what I mean? Let's say you're used to your character and you can do things at the best that you can because you played it for so long, or because you just have a knack for it, whatever. And I don't want it to be relying on freaking RNG. That's not fun for me.
I agree. 100%.
And the issue with gear is more like, well, people always complain. So, well, you look at vanilla and you do a raid and it takes so long just to get that one item that you went in there for.
Yeah, and then you've got DKP too.
Yeah. But at least with like vanilla, like you have something that you can work towards. And with the RNG and Legion, and don't even get me started with like trinkets and my bags
that
were
Arcano
full
crystal,
of trinkets.
Constantly,
I
forever
actually
chasing the Arcano crystal.
I got a Titan Forge one.
Oh, I hate you so much.
It was $9.25, but yeah, I mean, like, just but I farmed my ass off for it. So.
I was farming Argus. I was farming Argus. Argus, getting that whatever shard crap you turn into the guy and you can get whatever you want, the veiled such and such. But
I probably did over like 300 trinkets.
Wow.
Yes.
300 trinkets?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I probably did around that much. I just kept doing it every day. It would be like the same robotic freaking journey. And then I just hit a point where I was just like, I woke up one day and I was just like, no. Not doing it anymore. It's not fun,
Yeah, that's
I got it and then I quit 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
So it's that. It's that RNG basis. What else is driving you for playing retail less and going more towards classic? Is the social interaction part of it? Is gameplay? What else do you think it is?
I think all of those things are kind of like there.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the thing. I would never say that, all of those, I think they more all add up to be a part of the problem. Yeah. I mean, but like, I'll tell you the thing that really kind of made me switch directions, because when they announced Classic, I was like, that sounds pretty cool. Like, I was actually really shocked because they said they would never do anything like that. And I was thinking to myself, do I want to go back to Classic? Do I want to go back to Vanilla? And, I had to take some time and think about it. And I also am on the BFA Alpha. I guess it's the beta now. But one of the things that really bugged me were, well, for one, when I went on my druid, it was like I'm now, and you know they could change things, and I haven't checked it since because they did a wipe. But anyway, but I know when I went on though, we had no moon. And with the artifact weapon, we had, you know, the moon, and you'd have full moon, and I mean, one of the things I loved about
the moon cycle thing,
was I used to love throwing moons at people. Like full moon was like one of the best things for me. I'm like, get hit by a moon, you know, exactly. Like people would always talk so much shit about boomies, and I'm like, dude, I get to throw moons on people. You know, they're like, they're so dumb and da da da. I'm like, whatever, I like it.
I like it.
But you know, and. You know, but one of the things, though, is they took away, there was no moon, so who knows if they were planning on putting it in later, and they already did that. They might have, like I said, I haven't checked. But we also, they took away Displacer Beast.
Oh,
really?
They replaced it with this Tiger Dash. So they basically got rid of Dash, and they got rid of Displacer Beast, and they replaced it with this Tiger Dash, which makes you go really fast for like a few seconds, and then kind of almost like aspect of the cheetah got warped into on Hunter. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, so they literally took away 2 of our mobility and replaced it with a kind of shitty one, a kind of shitty skill. You know, I mean, because Blink, let's not downplay how awesome having a Blink is for everything, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's one of the things that drives me the most insane about retail WoW is how they just always give, and then you'll have it for years, and then they just take it away.
Yep.
You know, and it's like, you can't do that to people. Like, people get used to having something, you know, and if you're going to take it away, you've got to take it away before people get used to it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, how do you not realize while you're testing it, oh, this is too OP, we shouldn't give this. Yeah,
exactly.
And the reasoning behind it, from what I heard, is they want Blink to be an exclusive mage-only ability. They want to have, you know, each class playing their class fantasy a little bit. But what they don't realize what they're doing, and they do it all the time, which pisses me off, is they try to, we're going to make this class, you know, the class fantasy, this, that, and that. And then they try to go into it, but what they end up doing is in the end, this is always what happens, they end up making them all feel the same. I don't know how they do it.
I know.
We're going to take this way, take this way, take this way. Now everyone's boring.
We're going to homogenize the classes so that everybody's unique, but in the end, nobody is unique. Yeah. I mean, and then that's probably why they did it. Well, no, I remember I actually used to play Boomy during Kata, too. And I used to PvP pretty much exclusively during Kata. I didn't really raid at all. But I remember in PvP, boomies were so weak because you had no way to get away from melee. No way to get away. Like, I remember, like, I had this friend who was like this epic boomy of legend, and he did some shit, like, I don't even know how he did it. And I would be like, teach me, sensei, teach me your ways, you know, and he would tell me like little tricks here and there, like, make sure you always have a rejuve on, and make sure you do this, and make sure you do that. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. And I would still only be like, you know, kind of sort of okay next to him, you know what I mean? Like, geez, I would duel him, and he was all, I like being around people who are really good though, because you can pick up pick up things, you know?
Right.
Absolutely.
And but I remember thinking when I think it was maybe the next X pack after that, where they were introducing, you know, ways for boomies to just get out of dodge, you know? And because really all we had before was just cheetah, you know, like, but if they were doing anything, like if it was a rogue, it wasn't going to matter. You know what I mean? Because you'd just be sitting there shifting in and out, in and out, in and out.
Grasp, it's like, you're dead in the stun lock, so it's what's the point?
Exactly. I mean, like, rogues were pretty much like any melee. I would just get wrecked. I mean, because melee was so strong during Kata. But I remember being like, yes, this is what we need. Now we can finally be viable, you know? I think it was Mop. And then they changed them, like that weird thing they did with the astral power, where it was like that floating thing that just went back and forth no matter what. I was like, what is this? I couldn't do it. And so I ended up not playing it. But then by the time I hadn't touched it for like at least 2 X packs, and then I saw a friend playing it, and they're throwing moons at people. I'm like, what the heck is that? That looks awesome.
That looks fun.
Right? And so then I'm like, I want to try that. So I tried it, and I was like, well, they really fixed it. It feels better now, like way better than it felt before, you know?
It felt really good.
And then and I got used to it. I mean, I rated pretty much the entire most of the expansion as a boomy. I started off as a holy priest, but it wasn't for as long as I rated as a boomy.
Right.
And so it's like now it's just going to take it away. It's like, dude, I got used to using it,
I don't know if I heard from someone that they did bring it back. I'm not sure, but it seems like
I'll
such
check
an
it.
integral part in their in the rotation.
Well,
You know?
yeah, well, and one of the things, well, it's mostly just for getting out of dodge and raids. I mean, and
Right.
if you were going to PvP, it would be really integral too,
Yeah.
I mean, because it was so nice having a blink, you could blink through things, I
Right.
mean, and that's something you can't do with a dodge
Oh no,
or
I
a
meant
dash,
with the
rather.
moon. I meant with the new moon. I
Oh,
think
with the moon, yeah. Well,
Right.
they'll probably add it in. If I had to guess, like, you're actually making me curious. I was like, maybe I'll go check. But the other thing too is one of my other classes that I like is a DK. I've been playing that on and off since Wrath. I mostly PvP'd in Wrath, and then WoD I think was when I really was playing it again because it was the only class I liked in WoD. Literally, I went through everything.
I played a DK in WoD too, and a resto shaman, but yeah.
Yeah, I liked Shaman. I actually leveled an Elemental Shaman because Drainy Shaman was one of the ones that I always used to kind of fall back to. It was one of my originals that I've had since like BC when they first brought out them. But and I remember all the raids I did, they were just throwing casters around like crazy. I was like, what is this, like the anti-caster raid? And like every raid was like that. And I was like, forget this. I can't do this. And so, I kept trying new characters and eventually I stuck with the DK. So I'm over on the alpha with the DK after I cannot play the druid. Because like in the state it was in, it was not playable.
Right.
And I didn't feel like going to feral because I'm not even used to feral. So what's the point, Yeah. But anyhow, so I'm playing and I'm noticing like, some things are the same, slight changes. It was okay. I played for a while. I leveled up a bit and like I did like the Drustvar area, which was pretty cool. And then I logged off and I know they had like this change. I don't know if it was the change to beta or if it was when they included the scenario for Undercity, for taking Undercity. But anyways, at some time around there, I wasn't there for like a week or two and I came back and all of a sudden it was there. I noticed this freaking GCD.
Oh my god.
And I'm like, what the hell is this? Like I'm hitting a skill and I'm waiting. I'm like, this isn't how DK works. You get runic power and you spend it.
Exactly.
Why am I waiting to spend my runic power? Because it was always like build and then dump. Like once you're full, dump.
Obliterate, frost strike.
I do not understand the reason
Well, and it's
behind
the
that.
same thing almost for Unholy too, because you're dumping death coils,
Right.
I was assuming you were playing Frost, sorry.
I played both.
Yeah.
I preferred Frost back in the day when we could have two-handers. God, that was awesome.
Yes.
And tank.
Yes.
That was a glory day for DK for me. Tanking is Frost. Yeah.
And I remember I used to do five mans in arena, and one of the things I used to do is, do you remember that one skill we had? God, I can't remember the name. It was the one though. It was instant cast back then.
Dark,
it was no, it was a ice spell. I think it was a talent you could take.
Was it Icebound Fortitude?
No, that was just the armor.
The armor one.
You basically would come in and it was an AOE freeze.
Oh.
And so if there were stealthies, it would pull them right out of stealth.
Yeah.
If you were doing like Strand of the Ancients and everybody's on the frickin' Demolishers, you could just hit that and everybody's
like that
just
cone
stuck.
of like snow and everything that was like around.
That's what I think it's now, but it wasn't like that back then. Back then it was just like you would use the skill and it would just freeze everybody.
Yep, I know what you're talking about.
For a long time they made it so it was casted, and then they just got rid of it completely, I guess.
Yeah, or changed it into Remorseless Winter, maybe. I'm not really sure.
Maybe. That sounds familiar, but I know there were a couple skills like that. They used to have a lot of skills, but
it's really cool.
Anyways, now we've got these CDs, I mean, and then just recently I went in and I don't know if this is like a bug or what, but like the view distance field is set and I'm like, I can't zoom out and I'm just stuck. Really? And I was like looking up and some people were talking about it. Like I found a post on Reddit where they were talking about it like back in March. And I'm like, is this a thing? Like, can we not zoom out? Like, I mean, and I've still not been able to find any definitive answer on that because nobody's talking about it.
I mean,
so I hope it's a bug because
probably.
I don't see what point there would be in setting the view distance. It's like, this is not an FPS, guys.
But from what I've seen, I am not happy with BFA so far. I'm not. And I know a lot of people, like even Asmongold was saying, like he's like not too excited about BFA. I mean, there's a lot of like retail WoW people who are not looking too hopeful with BFA.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised with that. I really am.
I mean, one thing they did recently that I saw is they brought back DefPact, which is like, why did they take it away in the first place? Because it was awesome. But like, you know, they brought that back, and like, I mean, I don't know what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like,
either.
I guess I'm just
damage
confused.
control. They're just trying to.
Yeah.
Maybe they're trying to make BFA suck so bad so everyone goes to Classic.
Well, that's just going to happen. But I think so. Josh over at Countdown to Classic is he.
Hi, Josh.
Yeah, hey Josh. Hope you're listening. Hope you're watching. So he is a he's deemed the changes versus no change debate. He calls the great changes versus no change debate of 2018. So where do you stand on that in regards to Classic WoW?
Oh yes, I forgot about this, even though I should.
Can of worms.
Well, I mean, I think the thing that freaks me out the most about this is how rabid people have been. And I'm not trying to be like, you know, shitty about it, but like, I mean, I've had people even on my channel giving me hell about using Questy. It's like, you guys realize we used mods back then, right?
Those people
like,
just don't understand that add-ons were part of the game back then, too.
I mean, but like, you know, and the other thing, too, is like, for the most part, though, I know a lot of people that, you know, like, I try to stay pretty friendly with people on my channel, and I try to talk to people as much as I can. But like, you know, the people that are against mods, even, for the most part, are really chill about it. They're like, I don't like it. It ruins immersion for me. But they don't, like, attack me or anything.
Right.
They're not like, you're awful, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Right.
It's mostly like people that are just like trying to catch you. Look, I caught you. You're using mods. You don't like vanilla. It's like, I had mods back then too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Those people honestly have no idea what they're talking about. so I wouldn't even.
Well, you know, you got to think about it. Like, if they were in favor of changes, then to not have mods would be a change.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know? If Blizzard blocked the ability for add-ons, that would be a huge change because like that's what we all used.
We did.
Yeah. But like, so what would you need?
Yeah, I guess in terms of where I stand, I mean, to me, it just seems like a no-brainer. You know, they're calling it classic, and they've even said as much. And the definition of classic is like authentic, you know, something that has been proven to be good. I mean, and if they didn't make it as close to the original as they could, I don't know what the point of doing a classic is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
very
and
well said.
that's just, you know, from a logical standpoint, you know.
Yep.
I mean, and I mean, because I can see things that were good, even like, I don't like a lot of what's happened probably since Kata. Like, I kind of feel like at that point it severed so badly that it's hard to recognize the game, you know, like you can see it, you can still remember it, but it's like, but there were definitely things that were good in BC, like even quality of life changes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like certain skills, like, I mean, I don't remember exactly when they put this in, but playing a shaman again, like the ability to move a totem or the ability to get rid of a totem, you know, because those things will keep attacking people.
Yeah.
You know,
oh my God, searing totem, how I hate you.
Yes. Today it just kept it. I'm like, stop.
It's like hitting snakes and the rodents. I'm like, do you really need to kill all the wildlife? You're a shaman totem. Why are you killing everything?
It's like killing the sickly gazelle. It's
yeah,
like,
exactly.
what the sickly gazelle did to you? But yeah, I mean, and so like, you know, if they, I guess, thought about it and it was like, you know, something that would be really, like, I know a lot of people that actually really liked the patch right before BC came out. I think it was like, was it 1.13?
1.12.1.
1.12.
Was that it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know that everybody, like, right when they put achievements in, and I think they updated the talents a bit, and they made a lot of fixes. And I know a lot of
achievements was like right before Wrath.
Yeah. Oh wait. Oh, was
In
that?
Wrath.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry. You're right. But yeah, and I know a lot of people that really like that patch, and I'm just like, you know, just do the best you can, but just be like, you know, decent about it. Like, I don't want to see, I feel like there's certain deal breakers for me that I don't want to see. Like, I don't want to see LFG. I just don't think that's going to be a good thing. You know, like, it wasn't there. I know that there are people that will complain. And even I remember, like, when they first came out with LFG, I was like, oh, finally, I won't have to be sitting outside the dungeon waiting.
We said the same thing. We were like, at the time, it sounded great.
But it's one of those things where, like, at the time it sounds good, but you have no way of knowing how it's going to affect the community, you know?
Right.
And we already have the knowledge and the experience of seeing how it affected the community. And so why would, you know, just, if it's, don't not broke, don't fix it. So like, let's just not do that.
Absolutely.
We already know that everybody, after the Cross Realm and after all that stuff happened, everybody lost their communities, especially like PvP servers and even PvE servers. I mean, because I was always on a PvE server, and like it just, I don't know any of these people.
Yep.
I mean, and so like that's something I don't want to see personally. I mean, and then there's like all these little intricacies where it's like, do we want to load it up on the first patch, with all the bugs? Well, obviously not. You know what I mean? But like, I mean, I'm sure there are some people who are in favor of that,
Right.
or do we want to load it at the last patch so everything is available?
Right.
There's so many little intricacies that I'm kind of ambivalent about. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of in between that, could they do this and not have the bugs? Could they do that?
Exactly.
Like that,
exactly. I mean, and I'm mostly, like, at my core, what I really want is I would love, now I don't know if we can do it. Like, I don't know if they can do it. If we can get that back, that community and what it used to be like, I think it's a good thing to try, though. Because you even look on the private servers, and it's still there on the private servers, I mean, so like, it's obviously something that can be recaptured, but also I want to go back to like having characters that just feel like I can feel something for them. You know what I mean? I wrote in I did in one of my videos about character attachment. And like, I'm not like a big, RPer or anything like that, but I tell you what, like when I don't make a character, I always kind of have like this in the back of my head feel that I'm going for. You know what I mean? Like, this is the vibe that my character is going to do. And she's going to do this, and she's going to have this job, and it's going to make sense. It makes total sense, right? I mean, just like making like a goblin engineer would make sense, or a gnome engineer, you know what I mean? Right. And this is like my little tiny backstory. And
immersion.
Yes, but the big thing is like, God, they just don't give us enough to do anymore. Like, I want more freedom to play my character how I want to play it. I don't want to be put in this little freaking jar that's like, here's your 4 skills, like freaking hunters. Hunters. My God, it's like they really wanted. The toolkit
has become so much smaller.
Hunters had so much back in vanilla.
I know.
Yeah.
They had a very, a lot of people can play them, but that skill cap was so high to be able to, you had their whole range of melee abilities. Had your whole
that's the thing.
Range of,
you could have the auto shot hunter. You know what I mean? Or you could freaking have the person who's like sitting there controlling their pet and taking them back. Like, I actually have like a specific macro to make the pet attack and to make it come off. And,
right.
Like, I go in and I make macros for things, and like, I enjoy, like, some people don't like pet classes, and I've talked to those people a lot. They're like, I just don't get into that. I love pet classes. Like, maybe that's just me because like I'm a pet person. Like, it's funny because I'm not a pet person in real life, but like in games I am. It's
right.
I can see why though, because you don't have to worry about like actually keeping them alive.
I don't have to pick up the food.
But you get to feed your pet.
Oh yeah, okay, yes, but it's a lot different than like taking it to the vet.
Yeah, I know I had rabbits for a while, and they poop so freaking much. It's just like, stop.
At least you have to
pooping,
clean up
please.
your pet's poop and wow, that's a lot better.
Well, I mean, but it's so cool because like you can train skills and like it's so funny because I'm coming in here and I'm like, how do I freaking get this to be higher level? And I kind of remembered that you could get new skills from new pets, and like I literally had to go out and research it. Like, you have to go out, you have to find the pet that has it, and then you have to, play with it long enough using that skill, and then it'll be like, you learn charge rank 3. And you're like, then you can teach it to your old pet.
It's so cool.
Yeah. And you have like the whole training list of all the skills you can teach that pet. I mean, and I've seen different iterations of it. Like, I remember when they used to have like the talent tree. I can't remember. Was that BC?
For the pets?
Yeah, they used to have like, was it?
The talent tree for the pets.
I don't know. I can't remember.
There was talent trees in vanilla.
You mean for the pet?
Yeah.
Really? Because I haven't seen it. But
pretty sure. I don't play hunters, but let me check.
So far, I've just seen the what do you call it? Like the beast training.
Right. You go to the.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're thinking of the.
Well, there was the one point where they actually had like the talent trees, and like I think it was BC, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
But I know that was pretty decent too. Like I didn't mind that. But then they just were like, nope, you're not getting anything. You know what I mean? Like
right.
It's just, I just don't even understand. Like I was playing Hunter like crazy during MOP too. And I remember I used to be able to solo, what the heck were those things called? Do you remember the mobs? They were like war somethings. They were the ones that they rode on the dinosaurs.
Oh,
Triceratops. Yeah.
I know
And
exactly what you're talking about.
They would drop them out. You
yes,
know?
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
They were so hard to kill, though. I
Yes,
used
they
to be
were,
able to
yeah.
freaking solo them. I would have to pull out like literally every freaking stop I had.
remember hunters doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, and but I could freaking do it, and like it was such a good feeling, you know. I was like, I'm a badass. I got this, you know. And now it's just like I'm I'm just like, what is this? What I have nothing. Like, ooh, use kill command, okay? You know, use freaking whatever shot you use for your spec, you know.
And that other stampede thing or whatever.
Yes.
Where the pet comes
call
out,
beast
like,
or whatever it is.
Yeah, they just like come out and just start like.
Yeah.
Like I remember in MOP we used to have like Stampede, like we were just given Stampede. We used to have like rapid fire still. We had another thing too, because I remember I used to have like 3 cooldowns, and I remember during MOP like hunters were just insane, like out the door DPS. It was like, you know, and I had and by the end, what you know, you'd even out to everybody else for the most part, but it was just so fun. Like I remember I had another friend who was a hunter, and we would just be like dueling banjos, like I will get you.
Nice.
So it sounds like you have a lot of like, you know, a lot of your immersion. That's a huge thing with you. You know, the feel of feeling connected to your character. And, you know, with us, with Melderon and us, that is such a huge part of what, you know, vanilla is to us. And, you know, I think that's, you know, everything you said, like almost word for word, everything you were saying when we were talking about, you know, those in classic, you know, what you want to see. And like, I was just like, I'm 100% like with the no changes. And, you know, you're talking about that and, you know, where they could go. But if there was, you know, like, something that you would really like to see, or, you know, you're perfect, because, you know, what I wanted to get actually, because you look at like private servers, and even private servers are a lot different from what vanilla was back in the day, right? I mean, especially like in those early days.
80 to 90%.
What's that?
80 to 90% accurate.
Well, I mean, you look at like, you know, like starting at 1.12.1, right?
Yeah. Oh.
And having those talents,
and
like having those talents, say for Molten Core.
Yeah. Oh,
like that makes a huge difference. And then the itemization, like there were like the tier sets were different. You know, they went through like a lot of changes. With the bonuses and the itemization. So like, do you think there was when you logged on and started playing like private servers, was it like a big difference to you, do you think, compared to like what vanilla was like, or do you think it was kind of like in the middle?
To be honest, it's really hard to say because it's been so long since I played it.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, because I never played private server ever. Like I literally just started up within like the past month or something like that.
Okay.
But as far as, you know, I mean, I didn't notice anything that feels over the top different. I mean, but even if I did, it's hard to say, you know, because I'm coming from freaking Legion, you know?
Yeah.
Right. But if you had a selfish...
It doesn't feel bad or anything, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't feel like anything is inherently wrong, except some mobs are broken here and there. But...
Yeah, once in a blue moon,
Yeah.
But if you had a selfish change, what would it be? If you want, what would you change if one thing in class?
Yeah.
Even though we're no changes, what would be one thing you would change?
Probably like I was saying about just like some of the issues with the classes. Like one of the things I used to love was when they put up those little circles for the totems, and it would say under your character thing, and it would say how much was left on each totem. Like I used to love that. Yeah. And
yes.
You know, just the things like with the totems, and you know, most of the classes I don't think have a lot of issues, you know, but there are some I think that are harder than others to deal with, you know.
Right.
Not to say you can't work around it, but like if I had to pick a selfish change, that would be it.
Gotcha.
Just, you know, bringing in maybe some of those skills, like even if it's just to get rid of them, I'd be happy. Like get rid of kill totem, bye totem, you know.
Well, so, I
or
know exactly
how about if you just made a very simple change, which would really help, which would be to make it so that, you know, they only attack what you attack, you know?
Yeah, like how like hunters have, you know, defensive or yeah, right. I know
I mean,
exactly.
because those things are just rabid. They
Yeah,
just
the
wreck
totems
everything.
are ridiculous. It's just like, I don't want to throw Searing Totem down because I might, like, it's like you throw Searing Totem down and like a paladin runs by and he's like, the Searing Totem's like, kill that paladin!
And you're in the barrens or something.
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah,
God,
and I'm
yeah.
like, no!
I remember
yeah.
I remember being down in like STV, which was like, you know, a lot of when you first start running into a lot of horde all the time, you know? And I remember there was like this orc hunter and he was just being such a douche, man. He kept getting like right on top of my mobs and like, come on, hit me. Hit me, hit me. And I'm like, I'm not hitting you. You know, and then of course you can't use any of your skills because the second you do, you're going to flag. You know?
Right, exactly.
Yep.
So no thunderclap. I don't even know if you can use demo
Like
shout, you know? So you're just sitting
definitely
there
not.
like,
Yeah.
Are you going to go away?
Going to Booty Bay as a rogue and just sapping everybody. I love it. I love it.
You were one of those.
Mind controlling people off the boats, you know? That was me.
Do you remember? I don't remember when it was, but it was either sometime in Wrath or BC, but they had rogues when they gave them like that really epic freaking stealth. You know, because like rogue stealth right now, at least as it is as I'm playing on the private server, isn't really that great. Like you really need distraction because otherwise they're just gonna see you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you have to expect to improve stealth.
Yes, and I actually have done that, and it doesn't help that much.
No.
But anyways, you know, I remember though at one point they gave rogues like that crazy stealth, like sub rogues, where you just couldn't see them, and you wouldn't even hear them most of the time. You wouldn't even hear the like, woo, like when a stealth was near you, and they would just walk around just sapping people. Like they couldn't actually kill you, but they would just sap you, and you'd be like, fucking goddamn it. You'd be like in freaking war song, and they just keep sapping you, and like you know, you could just imagine them laughing their asses off.
Definitely.
So much fun.
So let's quickly talk about your YouTube channel. So what do you so what made you want to start a YouTube channel, and also what kind of content do you make, and what content are you going to make in the future?
Well, I already went over some of that, but basically the way I'm doing it right now is I'm just kind of making whatever I'm interested in.
Nice. Cool.
So, you know, I'm really interested in classic, and as you know, I'm gonna probably go with that until I run out of stuff to do, until we get more information.
Yeah, right.
And then I'm probably gonna, you know, I'm probably gonna do some stuff with Bless too, when it comes out, because I'm so into this whole pet mount thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, I even have some stuff I could do with BDO still, but I've just been getting so sick of picking flowers in that freaking game.
So for our viewers who don't know what BDO is, can you explain it briefly?
Oh, yeah, it's Black Desert Online, and it's a very hard to explain game. What most people do is they go out and they do like guild PvP. It's like Node Wars almost, and every town in the game can be fought over and owned. And then people like pay taxes to it and stuff.
Okay.
So it's a way for like the guilds to make income. But basically you gear up through like these crazy world bosses. And, you know, you'll get gear off of that. They have this kind of annoying enchanting system where you can fail and lose your gear, or not lose your gear, but it'll go back. So like imagine you have like, okay, base level, then you get a duo, and then you get a try. And after try, you can get, you know, to the next level, but if it fails, it'll bring it back to a duo, and then you have.
Sounds pretty cool.
It's kind of annoying, and there are people that like are always like Pen. I think is the highest they have right now, which is like the fifth level, and people are always like what they call it, like Pen Roulette or something like that, and people are always QQing about it and leaving the game. It's like, come on, you knew what you were in for, you know. But I don't really do much of that. Like I fell in love with the horse aspect of it, and you can like they'll have just horses running around in the wild, and you have to get like a lasso, and you go out and you can catch them, and that can be like your horse.
That's awesome.
And yeah, like you'll get on it and you bring it to a stable master, and you register it, you give it a name, and then like you can level it up. It gets experience. It can learn skills. I mean, they have like skills that'll make them go faster. And now this game doesn't have any flight paths There is no quick travel in this game.
Wow.
And so having a really good horse is like paramount.
It's everything, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so like the horses have tiers, and they'll go up to like, I think tier 9 is the highest now. That the tier 9 is a dream horse, and they are incredibly difficult to get. Like I spent something like 2 billion getting mine.
And
sounds like a lot of money.
It is, yeah. And the worst part is that part of the way that you get it is that you have to farm. And so you have to plant frickin', I say it's picking flowers. I just plant sunflowers. And you have to pick them like twice a day, and you get a chance to get an item that you could use to feed the horse to get it to awaken into a tier 9. Anyways, yeah. I mean, I'm sure people don't want to hear me ramble about that, but
so
it's fun.
You play a few different MMOs currently right now. What are the MMOs you do play right now?
Currently, I'm going between, like, I always kind of play Final Fantasy 14, even if I'm not, like, actively doing anything. Like, I'm always kind of in there. Like, I'll usually go in and do, like, a daily dungeon or something and, you know, level whatever characters I'm working on or check out my house or whatever. I also play Terra on and off.
Okay, yeah.
Let's take a look at my desktop. Guild Wars 2, yeah, that's another one. I play that now and then.
So where's WoW rated in your MMO?
Private server wise, I've been playing it very often.
Okay.
That's probably like my go-to at this moment for an MMO.
Nice.
I've just been having trouble. Like, do I want to keep leveling the shaman, or do I want to just go back to my hunter who's already 30 and much easier to play? Right. But the hardest thing is, like, every time I'm walking around, all I ever see are hunters.
The fastest leveling class. They're because of that, they're the most popular played class.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember Joanna used to be a hunter.
Oh yeah,
she was the one with the fastest 4 days and 20 hours.
I actually watched like her whole playthrough one time, like from getting to, like
wow.
60. Yeah, probably not like like here, like just like had it off to the side or whatever, but yeah. So
yeah, I am looking forward to Bless though, and Air. Have you heard of that?
I have.
Air looks awesome. Yeah. Like I would switch to that in a second just because I love the idea of like having the airships fight, and it just looks so cool. Yeah. It looks so cool.
I'm pretty psyched about Pantheon too. Actually, I think Pantheon looks really good. But yeah, and then,
Pantheon was PvE, wasn't it? You know, because the biggest complaint I have about most of these new games coming out is that they are all like this free for all PvP, and that's just never fun.
Yeah, I know.
Pantheon I think was PvE though. I think it was one of the few I saw that was.
So Pantheon. Did
they have server options or just strictly PvE?
Pantheon? I'm not. I mean, from what I know, it's a lot of it is like open world. Like the instances are open world.
Oh.
So like they're not. I mean,
they're not instance off.
Instance is what I meant to say.
Okay.
Yeah. So like from what I know and what I've been watching, and it looks really cool. Now I didn't actually even really notice about if there was a PvP aspect to it. I think there are 2 factions, if I'm not wrong. I have to look more into it, but like,
I'm just looking at it right now. It actually says it is a primarily PvE game, but it will have separate PvP servers. So.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah.
And now our last question that we have. So being a girl in MMO, playing MMOs, right? Does it ever feel like hard sometimes interacting with people, or do you have any maybe words of advice for other women that play MMOs? But feel a little wary about it.
They do exist. Women do play MMOs, guys.
Yeah, but you know how some guys.
I am probably.
Like, oh my God, a girl.
Yeah, exactly. I am probably like the wrong person to ask this question because I'm the woman who's sitting there rolling her eyes every time some girl is like, "Oh my God, I'm a victim." Like I hate it. I will sit there and be like, "You are what is wrong with the perception of girls in gaming." Seriously, because like it's all about like okay, and you know what? This is another thing. I'm probably going to have a bunch of SJWs calling me an anti-woman again. But no, seriously, like, you say you're a feminist, right? And you want equality, but you don't want equality. You want to be treated better.
Yeah.
And I want equality. You know what I mean? So equality means that you treat me like anyone else. It doesn't matter if I'm a girl. you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which is in a way treating you so you don't mean better than. You mean better to get equal is what you're trying to say, correct?
Well,
Like,
no, I was initially saying that for the most part, I feel feminists don't want to be equal. They want to be better
to be
than men.
better. I'm sorry. I
Yes, they
misunderstood.
want to be
Got it.
perceived as better.
Yeah.
Like better treatment, not equal treatment, you know?
Right. I see what you're saying now.
Yeah, I think the
yeah.
word feminism, I mean, really is kind of because all it really is equality. That's really it.
Well, yeah,
You know,
I mean,
yeah.
and you know, when there are guys that are douchey. Don't freaking get me wrong. You know, I mean, there's the whole, geez, that make me a sandwich thing that
Yeah.
started up at who knows when. And I mean, whatever. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
there's always going to be some immature little jerk who's going to say stuff like that. But, you know, like, I don't know. I don't feel like every time you hear something like that, you should go crying about being a victim. You know, like, tough. I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Have men treated you differently though? Like not in a good. So what I mean by good or bad, I mean have men thought that you couldn't accomplish a goal or wanted to give you things because of your gender?
Have you guys ever seen that post they did? I think it was on Something Wicked. Was that it? Or I can't remember. It was like an old website that was out around vanilla, and there was this guy who did this whole thing about making gold and WoW, where he pretended to be a girl.
Oh yeah.
You remember
right,
that?
Right.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
There was like the infamous RP, you know, sex thing where the guy said, "I want you to poop on my chair,"
yeah.
Oh my God.
and he's like, "I don't know if I'm cool with this."
yeah.
I
Oh,
think
man.
if you put yourself in a position where, like, you know, you're like, oh, I'm really having trouble getting gold, and I've heard girls do this so many times, can you tell? I really need help, and like, you know, like you're calling for the knight to save you. There's
Yep,
always
the
going to
white
be a
knight.
guy
Oh,
that's
God.
going to come in and that's going to save you. You know
Oh,
what
I
I mean?
can do that.
Yes,
yeah.
and they're looking for it because, you know, there's lots of guys. I mean, I'm sure most of the guys, I've met plenty of guys that are perfectly normal in this game. They've got lives and
Yeah.
Right.
they're good looking and no problems. You know, I've met, you know, other guys that I'm sure are probably kind of lonely.
Mhm.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I think a lot of the times those are the guys that are like looking to, you know,
Be that
Yeah.
one
find
night.
someone, you know,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, girl, you know. But even then, I don't see that much anymore. Maybe a while back it was like that. But I mean, for me personally, I've not experienced that because, like, I'm the type of person where, like, if somebody is nice and they say, oh, I'll make this for you, or I'll give this to you, you know, like, if it's something that's too much, I'll be like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Or can I pay you back? Or
Right.
can I do something for you that'll help balance it out so I don't feel like I'm taking advantage of you,
Yeah.
sort
Correct.
of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I understand.
But that
But,
happens a lot in the vanilla.
yeah.
You know, in the vanilla, like you know, we get a new person in the guild. I'm sending you some bags and stuff like that. And that's the cool thing about like vanilla community. It's not usually when I see it, it's not about, oh, this person is this or that or the other. It's just that we're here to help each other out. Let's help each other out. Let's be the community that, you know, that Classic is and the vanilla can be. And I think, you know, whether you're a girl, whether you're a guy, that's the draw to Classic for a lot of people is that, you know, it's a social game where people can help each other out.
I mean, and that's the thing too that you really have to ask. I mean, and if you're focusing on that, I'm sure you would always see that. But if you're not focusing on it, like I try not to focus on it.
right.
You know, you might just be seeing a friend who's being nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how do you differentiate? Like, you know, what if somebody really has it and you really need it?
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, but then you see the people that'll be like, oh, he got me this back when 25K was a lot of money, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
That what was it called? Oh my gosh, I am hating myself for not being
You
able to
talking
remember.
about that mount that everybody wanted back
The
in
invisible cat pet. Do you remember that?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I cannot remember
yeah, I
what
don't
it's
know either.
called.
Yeah.
I'm horrible with names.
Me too,
so, yeah.
actually. Me too. I'm really
In
bad
memory.
at. Specifically, I'm bad at word recollection.
Yes.
So I will sit there and I'll know exactly what it is, but I will not be able to freaking remember.
Yeah.
Yep,
I'm,
same
I'm
way.
right there too.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of like, I think besides the regular childish crap, you know, of like, God, I remember in MOP, I think is when it started, where it would be like, girls don't play WoW, and then it would be, well, if
Oh,
you
I
are a
remember
girl and you play WoW, you must be ugly, you know.
Oh
and
my
I
God,
remember
right,
just
yeah.
being like, you know, and
Yeah.
I guess you just, you know, you just get used to it. You know,
Yeah,
it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but like it is what it is. And I think no matter what, like when you're, I don't know. When I was younger, I always used to play with guys because the girls were really stuck up.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I went to school in a kind of rich area, and
Mhm.
my mom was a single parent. It's probably too personal. But anyways, I was kind of like a pariah to a lot of the parents
Oh, I
because it
see.
was like, get her single parent cooties away from my kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we had a
And-
single parent household
Yeah.
as well, so we know.
Well, and I think for whatever reason, the girls, it was always an issue. I don't even know why, but like with the boys, it was almost never an issue. Like, I don't know if boys just didn't go home and talk to their parents, maybe,
Not as much, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and because I remember like playing football, and I did all sorts of boy stuff. I was a tomboy too. So,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I've always kind of been more comfortable just hanging out with guys. And I guess so in that way, like when they give you crap, I don't take it so personally.
Exactly.
Because
Just like
you're
it's just a
used to
dude
it.
being a dick.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, oh my God, like he said that, like who gives a shit?
You're
really?
just like, yeah, that's just so and so being a dick.
Yeah.
Right.
Like he always is. And then you get other people who are like more sensitive and they like to talk, like guys too, and
Yeah.
everybody's different, So like I think in my entire gaming history, which has been pretty extensive, I've only run into one guy who actually was like pretty shitty with me.
Okay,
Really?
that's good.
And and we, I was really upset because he did it like right over raid chat and everything. And I was so like embarrassed that I just logged out.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what to do, and I was just like really upset that he even thought that way, and then I remember everyone else was like, they kind of jumped on him like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, you
It's
don't-
not
yeah.
cool.
Sounds like
Yeah.
just a
And-
bad person in general,
Well,
overall.
and we ended up talking though, and like we were actually friendly with each other after that. And
Okay.
that's another
Yeah.
thing that's cool with guys too, is for the most part, like I never understood this until like relatively recently though, that guys are like, they'll fight. And then once they fight,
Yeah.
they're
Oh, yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
And
Happens
girls
to me
don't
still all
have
the
that.
time.
Yeah, Defcamp and I have had
Girls-
epic
yeah.
fights, and then we're just like, oh,
Girls will
scissors at my
just,
face.
they'll talk about you behind your back, you know what I
Yep.
mean? And they'll
Oh,
never actually deal with the problem,
Very
But if you can
attached.
get a girl to deal with the problem, you'll be cool too. Because I think there was like one girl growing up that I got into a huge fight with. And I remember she was like, my boyfriend at the time was sitting there and he's like, she doesn't know what she's saying, just don't listen to her, because he thought the girl was going to beat my ass.
Oh my
And
God.
she was just like, I admire your balls. And we were like buddies after that. And so it's like, if you can have the confrontation, you can usually work it out. But
Yeah.
it's just easier, I guess, to have the confrontation with a guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
Not to generalize, but I definitely think that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, that's awesome. I think we got a pretty
Yeah, this has been a great.
we had a great time. I had a great time, and I think a lot of what you said is really, it's really awesome to hear, because so far everyone we've talked to, it really sounds like the people who are so excited for Classic, they're gonna bring that soul of Classic with them, and I think you're definitely one of those people. So I am so glad to have had you on the show, MMOGurL. Where can people come and find you if they want to watch you?
Just on my channel. I mean, I have a website too that I'm not as good at updating, but you can get to the YouTube channel from there, and that's just MMOGurl.com. And the channel with the same name. And yeah, I mean, YouTube is probably the best. I update that the most.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll have a link right under here. And guys, if you want to hear more of this, definitely subscribe, leave a like. Definitely go check out MMOGurL. She's got some really great stuff. Not just for WoW. If you're a fan of other MMOs,
Yes.
she's definitely the channel to check
Yeah.
out.
But
So,
but she's also put up some excellent Classic WoW content, so check that out.
yes.
Yeah.
And I've got more stories coming too.
Yeah, and we love stories. Like, we love that kind of stuff, so that's gonna
Yeah.
be great.
Absolutely.
I have like this whole series planned out, going through like my vanilla WoW days.
Oh yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing that.
I
Honestly.
love stuff like that. I really do. So yeah, definitely, guys, go check that out. Until next time, this is Defcamp.
And Melderon.
We're signing off, guys.
See
See
you
ya.
guys.